Do you own a seven-figure practice? You've probably heard me talk a lot about the Seven Figure Practice Club recently. This is a new, amazing program where we are getting together seven-figure practice owners together in a small group of 12 to work together for a year. There's so many things that seven-figure practice owners deal with that they don't have a community to ask questions, learn, and grow from. If you want to apply to be in the Seven Figure Practice Club, head on over to practiceofthepractice.com/club. There, you're going to be able to read all about what the program entails. We're going to be covering all sorts of things in our monthly meetings. We're meeting twice a month. The first meeting is 90 minutes, and we're going to have three 25-minute hot seats for you to dig in and to get questions answered, and also to help other seven-figure practice owners. The second meeting of the month is going to be one of our practice owners presenting on something they are knocking out of the park. And it's a chance to really be able to learn, teach, grow from each other in a way that you really don't find anywhere else in the marketplace. Also, in person meetings are so important. And that's why twice a year, we're going to connect once here in Traverse City, Michigan, and then another time somewhere else, yet to be determined. And we're going to connect, we're going to hang out, we're going to talk private practice, but we're also going to have a lot of fun. So if you want to apply for the Seven Figure Practice Club, head on over to practiceofthepractice.com/club and fill out your application today. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast, episode bonus. Welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast. Happy New Year. We are covering New Year, new habits. So often we see that across the board, people in January are just thinking through all sorts of new ways of thinking about things, new habits, all of that. And then oftentimes it falls off in February. In February, it just falls off. And so we don't want that to happen to you. So we're giving you some solid episodes smack dab in the middle of our seven-figure practice series, talking all about seven-figure practices. So we're kicking off the year with New Year, new habits. And I'm really excited for our guest today. I'll share a little bit about him in just a second. But again, if you are a seven-figure practice and haven't applied yet for our brand new seven-figure practice club program, you can apply for that over at practiceofthepractice.com/club. This is only for seven-figure practices. So we're going to get a group of 12 people together, and we're going to meet once a month for 90 minutes. And we're going to have three 25-minute hot seats where we really dig in with other seven-figure practice owners giving you advice. And then once a month, we're also going to be meeting where one of those 12 is going to be doing a presentation on something they're rocking out. So really making sure that we're learning from each other, we're growing. And then twice a year, we're going to be doing a live event where we meet up once here in Traverse City, Michigan, and then once someplace fun and exotic that we all decide that we want to meet up at. So it's going to be this really awesome year-long program. Make sure if you have a seven-figure practice that you head on over to practiceofthepractice.com/club. You can read all about it. You can also see what other people that have already applied are saying as to why they're joining or why they're applying. Then we're going to comb through those applications and find the 12 people that we think would be the best first cohort for that. So again, that's practiceofthepractice.com/club. Well, when it comes to hiring and outsourcing and optimizing your time, I got to tell you about my friend Kolby Goodman. Kolby's going to be sharing with us a little bit about his motto of helping business leaders hire the best, hire them first, and hire them now. He helps highly educated owner-operators like doctors, counselors, therapists, attorneys to really move into stop hiring average candidates and to start hiring impactful problem solvers. Kolby, welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So I am so glad that we're kicking this off in the new year. I know that last year for a lot of our group practice owners, hiring was a struggle. I know across the board, people are having ups and downs around hiring. Before we dig into kind of your tips around that, I'd love to just hear how'd you get into this work of helping people with their hiring and thinking through bringing people on that are really good quality?
Yeah. So I had spent about 10 plus years as a one-on-one career consultant, helping individuals go out there and find and land the jobs of their dreams, doing the work that they were meant to be doing, making money that they were worth, and ultimately enhancing their lives, not just from 9 to 5, but from 5 to 9 as well. And throughout helping over 4,000 people, giving over 200 keynotes and workshops, had heard every horror story, every nightmare in the book when it came to applications, interviews, and the entire candidate experience. And what I had found is that good people, well meaning leaders, managers, and owners, were subconsciously driving away high performing rock stars during the application and the interview process. And I said, it's time to put a stop to that. And so I've developed a program and a consultancy that works with those highly educated owner operators, which I know a lot of your listeners are, in optimizing their hiring, their recruiting, and their onboarding process so that they can not uh, they can prevent hiring the wrong people. They can stop wasting time trying to backfill and struggle with high turnover, and they can get to focus on doing what they really want in their own business.
Mm. Now, you said turning away rock stars. I want to drill into that a little bit. What are
Hmm.
things that maybe the average owner, or maybe even they have their assistant doing some of this? What are things that they are doing inadvertently that's turning away really high quality talent?
Yeah, an unclear expectation of what the role actually is, and a very high level way of saying that, and that starts with the job description. Right? Remember, you're not simply just competing for the best of the best, but you're also trying to prevent those rock stars from going to other places. And so if your job description on Indeed or LinkedIn or anywhere on the internet looks and sounds just like everybody else's, you become undistinguishable. And so as you become this homogeneous blob of every, administrative role, it's hard for you to separate. Not only that, is that traditional job postings are there to describe what kind of skill sets and what kind of experiences the ideal candidate has. But Joe, I think you and I know as business owners, and a lot of your listeners know, we don't simply hire people to do a job. We hire them because we have important problems we need to solve by experts. And so if you can more proactively go out there and share what those problems are, what those challenges are, not only do you get the right people who are aligned with solving those problems, but you get people excited to come in and make a change versus simply coming in and doing busy work or grinding it out only to become disengaged and disillusioned in a relatively short period of time, where then you as the practice owner have to start totally over in this entire hiring and onboarding practice.
Mm. Now, you work with so many people that are doing hiring, and I work with a ton of consulting clients in our membership communities. So I think each of us hear kind of what the hiring environment is right now. How would you summarize the overall hiring environment? And then how would you say that practices can stand out in that hiring environment?
Yeah. Um, there are an abundance of good candidates out there, right? With layoffs in the news, with cost cutting measures by large and small companies, it's a bit of an employer's market, right? But what that means too is that there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of people who are applying actively, but are getting uh, lost in the shuffle of the not so good applicants with the really good ones. And so, um, if you can be attuned, if you can be a dog whistle to high quality talent, if you can engage proactively and basically recruit when you don't need to recruit and enhance your employer brand and perception, you can build up a pipeline of people who would climb over each other to work for you so that when you do have an opening, you may not even need to have a posting. You may not even go out there and start to vet relative strangers where you have people already in your networks, in your pipeline. You can say, hey, by the way, like I have an opening. Is now the right time for you to make a move? And if so, we'd love to have you.
Like, what would that look like if we say we had somebody that has a small group practice, or maybe they're even just looking at their first hire and they're thinking, okay, I want to have this ongoing pipeline of people. I don't want to have to be struggling every time we're hiring.
Mhm.
If you were to make a plan for them for the next, say, 3 to 6 months, like what should they be doing over those 3 to 6 months to build that pipeline, maintain that pipeline, have connections so that when it's time to hire, they just have someone that they really want to reach out to and bring in pretty quickly?
So I think first and foremost is to make sure that you are developing and maintaining relationships with similar owner operators. Obviously, you here the practice of practice here, Joe, are developing a community of other practice owners. And that would be my first priority for your individuals, is making sure that you're enhancing and amplifying your recruiting message by partnering with people in similar need. So that would be number one. And number two would be to proactively share what you're doing in your business on a day to day. The old, cliche slash hypothetical situation: if a tree falls in the forest and there's nobody around to hear it, doesn't make a sound. If you and your practice, if you and your passions are making an impact, but you're not sharing it with the world, is anybody going to notice? Right? The answer is going to be no. So the second thing I would say is, on a regular basis, make sure that you are sharing the impact that you are making. You are sharing your involvement in your own communities. You're sharing about your programs and your offerings as often as you can, so that people can resonate with you as a passionate business owner, for you as a healthcare professional, and you as a potential boss, manager, leader. All this doesn't have to take a ton of time. I would say 20 to 60 minutes once a week to develop content, to post, to engage with your community online and off can help you build enough momentum in that snowball. So 3, 6, 9 months from now, you can put out a call to your network and say, hey, like, I'm looking to hire an admin. I need somebody who's a rock star at organizing the business and taking care of billing and scheduling and doing a bit of customer service, who allows me to take on more clients, have more impact, um, and provide a lifestyle for my family, but as well as the person and the family who I'm going to hire.
Mm. Now, when you say kind of the behind the scenes, like what does that look like on the content on social media, on their blog? Are they pulling out their phone and just talking about what it looks like to be in that counseling practice, or like what does that look like?
I think it can be twofold, right? I think you should be, putting yourself out there about what you do as a practitioner, right? How are you helping your clients? How can you help the community at large by giving advice or perspective or lessons learned? It may also it may also include sharing what it's like to work in your practice, right? Do you work in an amazing office building? Do you have a great view? Are there cool restaurants around your office? Those things that may seem minute and miniature are really important. But I think more than that, it gets people to know who you are as a human. Um, I would say the biggest downfall of job searching, especially in the last 10 to 15 years, and the prevalence of the internet and technology and smartphones, is that the job search has become dehumanized. And that goes for with the candidates as well as the employers. And so the more that you can put a literal face, name, and voice to your practice, the more people will resonate with you, the more people will like you and trust you to lead them, and the more people want to come and work for you when the opportunity presents itself.
Mm. Now, as people are thinking through candidates, let's talk a little bit about the hiring process. I know
Mhm.
that you think through that a little differently that to make it more effective. Like, what would you tweak in the typical hiring process for people?
So, um, ultimately, to make sure that we're only getting high quality people, right? Our goal in this process, to make sure that we minimize headache and heartache and we minimize wasted time, which I think is the most important commodity for any business owner and any human for that matter, um, is we want to make sure that we present a high enough barrier to entry where only the best of the best present themselves. And I think if you're out there right now and you're looking to make, whether it's your first hire or your 100th hire, and you want to make that process as effective as possible, you only want to get high quality applications in. The easiest thing that you can do is to add maybe one or two additional steps in your application process. Um, First and foremost, I would remove any one-click applies from any online portals that you've posted your job at, LinkedIn or Indeed, Glassdoor, etc. You don't simply want people spamming your application. You want people who are genuinely interested in working for you to take 3 to 5 minutes to fill out a genuine application. And secondly, put in another step. I recommend to my clients either requiring that person to send an email to maybe a ghost inbox, um, to say, hey, like, I've applied, this is my name, just to kind of add another checkbox to the list. Or in the case of your practice owners, if this person is going to be client facing, if they're going to be checking people in, if they're going to be calling out to confirm appointments, if they're going to be working with vendors or referral partners, they're going to have some kind of communication skill. So what I'd recommend is setting up a Google Voice inbox and um, putting that phone number on the posting and say, hey, once you've submitted your application, please call this phone number, 619-5555, and leave a 30-second voicemail introducing yourself and why you applied for the job. This is going to allow you to do a few things. One, it'll just, again, put another barrier to entry so that you're only getting the people who are detail-oriented, thorough, and follow directions. And then instead of spending time in a 15 or 30-minute conversation to realize somebody just is not available to communicate, they're not a good talker, you would not trust them to take care of your clients. Instead of wasting a half an hour doing that, on a phone call, you can make the distinction in listening to one voicemail.
Yeah, I love that. I love adding some of those extra steps to see about kind of direction following, things like that. One tendency oftentimes in private practices is to level people up internally without doing any external types of things.
Mm-hmm.
And, one thing that I'm sure we both are familiar with is the Peter principle of people that keep getting kind of upgraded in an organization well past their skill set. And then, they used to be very competent in their previous role, but then their new role, they don't know how to manage. They don't know how to do that new role. And then they become incompetent supervisors. What are your thoughts in regards to with admin staff, people you're outsourcing to, leveling them up internally? Should you also have external searches at the same time? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's about taking true stock of the experts you have currently in house. Um, for better and for worse, throughout I would say the last 50 to 75 years of industrialized America, the only way to move up the ladder in an organization was to take on the role of leadership, right? What I think we've kind of uh, taken advantage of, or I think not realized is even greater skill, is how can you double down on technical proficiencies, right? Because impact isn't simply just done in how many more people can we put underneath you. Impact can be had in efficiencies developed, processes implemented, costs saved. And so, really going to your team and saying the simple question of what problems do you want to solve in our organization? Because by looking at it as problem solved versus work done, you ultimately can engage those individuals more effectively and get them excited about the challenges they're going to face and to embrace their resiliency and their excitement for the pushback and the growth. But also, it allows you to double down on the ways that they can have a valuable impact on your team. Some people, it may be leadership. They want to coach, they want to grow, they want to cultivate a team. Some people are really good in their lane and want to double down on those technical skills. But if you don't have those honest and ultimately ongoing conversations, you're going to set people up for failure.
Hmm.
If you're looking for an awesome payroll solution, look no further than Gusto. We have used them for years here at Practice of the Practice. They keep me organized, we know how much taxes we're paying, and it's all done right, and you get pay stubs that look like any other company. Head on over to gusto.com/Joe to learn all about their payroll solutions. There is no reason that you should be worrying about payroll. Do it right. Head on over to gusto.com/Joe. That's GUSTO.com/Joe. Stop what you're doing just for a second. Take a breath with me. There's so much to do in private practice and so many resources and trainings and things like that to focus on that we've brought it all together for you for a totally free event starting March 11th and going till March 14th. Level Up Week 2024 is coming up, and I want you to save that date. We have some amazing panels we're planning where we're bringing together people that have started a private practice, people that have started a group practice, and people that are rocking out mega group practices. Also, we're going to have some amazing keynotes and some trainings that are on very practical things. There's no need for you to bounce between Facebook groups wondering, is this advice good? What should I do next? I don't even know of the 50 things that I need to be working on what I should do first. Instead, come to Level Up Week. It's totally free. You can be on the early bird list over at practiceofthepractice.com/level up to get all the early notifications for when we open up registration. So again, that's practiceofthepractice.com/level up.
Now, where do you see people really screwing up with keeping people, in their practice?
I think is not doing regular check-ins and taking the temperature. Um, Not simply in what is current job satisfaction, but also what are you excited about for the future, right? Are have you mastered what you've done and now you feel like you're just a cog in the machine? Or are there things that we're doing, new problems that we're tackling, ways that you're, you know, forced to grow and learn that get you excited to be here long term? Um, and also, too, I think the big question is asking people, do they feel valued in your organization? And if not, what could that how could that be changed? And yes, it comes in appreciation and more PTO. I think the things that does not happen often enough is the salary conversation and taking a real understanding of, is this person being paid the value that they're bringing in? Because what happens is people will covertly go out there and look for new roles, primarily because of pay and well as culture. They find the new roles. They come back to you as a back and say, hey, Joe, it's been a great 5 years here and I appreciate all the opportunities, but today I'm putting in my 2 weeks. And then people scramble. And the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, how can we throw more money at you to solve this problem? And it's almost insulting. That conversation should have been had months, if not years ago. And so the annual review, the annual sit down should become a biannual or a quarterly or a monthly temperature taking conversation about what problems are you excited to solve while you're here? What is exciting you or making you nervous about the future at this company? And what is the value that you feel like you're bringing on a regular basis? And making sure that all lines up with their emotional, their mental, and their monetary needs to make sure that they stay as long as possible.
Yeah. Now, when you think through your own way that you view time, outsourcing, hiring, part of this is our series on New Year, New Habits. Like,
Hmm.
how are you refining and thinking through what you spend time on in your own business, and then what that looks like in regards to hiring?
Yeah. It's funny. I think as we enter in the new year, people always ask themselves, well, what can I do more of? What habits can I build? Right. And so there's always this abundance and this more and this stacking on. And I think it's really easy for people to break. You kind of started the episode today is like, well, in January, we're all ramped up and ready to go. But then by February, we're bogged down and burnt out. Right. So I think about it like, okay, if the practice of adding a lot of things is making us exhausted, is breaking our habits, it's not giving us an ideal outcome, what would the opposite do? And so as I work with my clients to figure out their next hire and see what skill sets and what expertises would be most beneficial to them and to the team, I make them develop a not to do list. What are the things in your business that are you're not an expert at, that you don't like doing, that are taking away from you making more money, having a more impact, making a bigger difference? And grouping all that together first and finding ways to get that completely off your plate, right? Whether that's simple, elimination. Is this actually important anymore? Or have you been doing this because you've just always been doing it? Automation. Can a program, product, service, software do this better than you, faster than you, and magically, in the background? Or can you delegate this? Can somebody else do this for you who's better at it, who gets more excited to do it, who has the better bandwidth to do it for you more effectively, so that you're not bogged down? I'm a real proponent of um, not how, but who. Who can do this for you? Because with the right who's, not to sound cliche, but really anything is possible. And so as you go into this new year, I would almost challenge listeners to do the opposite of, I think, what a lot of popular media is telling them to do, which is, instead of adding more things, what are the things you should be taking away and who can be taking those burdens for you.
Yeah, I love that. When I do consulting, one of the first things that we do in it is for them to create a hate list, which is very similar to your like not to do list. Like,
Yeah.
what are the things
Yes.
that when you see it on your calendar, you're like, are you kidding me? Like, is it taking out the trash? Is it vacuuming your office? Is it doing billing? Is it going and doing networking? Like all these things that, sometimes it takes to get to a multi 6-figure practice or even a 7-figure practice, but you absolutely should stop doing. And that differentiator between people that are at multi 6 figures and then 7 figures is almost always having a very robust admin staff that you're outsourcing aggressively to both people and to systems, to really think through your use of time as the leader. You shouldn't be doing all these things you could outsource for $20 an hour when your counseling rate's 175 an hour, let alone your visionary rate of running and growing
Mhm.
this practice. And so I love that. The last question that I always ask is, if every private practitioner in the world were listening right now, what would you want them to know?
That there is somebody out there who is better equipped and excited to solve your problems. Like you just said here, Joe, the things that you hate to do, the things that you're not really good at, the things that you feel like you have to do in order to have a successful practice, um, are taking away from you having a bigger impact, making more money, having a more fulfilling lifestyle. But beyond that, somebody is out there is excited and stoked to do that kind of work. So by doing it yourself, not only are you burdening yourself and making it harder for you, you're taking away an opportunity for somebody else out there to fulfill their passions, their destinies, their purpose in life, to help you do those things that you don't want to do, that they would happily take off your plate.
Mm, so awesome. Colby, if people want to connect with you, if they want to work with you, where should we send them?
Yeah, so my website is bestfirstnow.com. If you are in a place where you're hiring your first employee or your 100th, and you want to make sure that you are putting out the right kind of employer messaging and employer branding, if you want to optimize and encourage a positive employer brand and candidate experience, and if you want to make sure that you are hiring impactful problem solvers and not just average employees, please give me a call. Love to see how I can help to make sure that you grow your practice. And I think most importantly, grow your impact.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the Practice of the Practice podcast.
Thank you for having me, Joe. It's been a pleasure. And I hope to be back again here soon.
When it comes to habits, the way I think through it, and I probably stole this from somebody, is the idea of habit stacking. So, for example, every morning I drink coffee. I've reduced the amount of coffee I have, especially after I had salmonella and have had surgeries over the last year, and I'm still dealing with all that came with that from getting salmonella in Mexico in November of 2022. So I've reduced my coffee intake, and then I see that coffee every single morning. And so to be a little healthier, I bought collagen. Now I could have put that collagen up in a different cupboard, but I didn't. I moved the plates and things that are above where I make my coffee, and I put the collagen right there. So it's right next to the coffee. And then, my doctor, because of all the intestinal stuff I was going through, said you need to have Metamucil every single day. So I put that up there. And then there's certain supplements that are good for my health, and I put that right above the coffee. So then this habit stacking is, what am I already doing? I'm already brushing my teeth twice a day. If there's a new habit, what can I put next to my toothbrush? I'm drinking coffee every single morning. What habits do I want to do daily that I can put right by my coffee? As we think about this new year, new habits, I want you to think through that lens of habit stacking, of thinking, where do I already do things? So I'm not creating new habits just from scratch, but I'm saying, okay, this is going to feel like an extension of something I already do. It could be as small as I'm going to put collagen in my coffee. It could be as small as I'm going to have Metamucil every morning because I'm over 40 and that's good for you. It could be bigger things for your business or your private practice. What are you doing already? I imagine you're already looking at your calendar because you don't want to no-show on clients. So even putting into your calendar as if it were a client, working on the business, whatever that next goal is, to put that in, to have that regularly in there, and to view it like it's a client that you are absolutely not going to no-show to. So think through habit stacking as we enter into this new year of what are the habits you already have, the things that are predictable, are regular, you do all the time, and how can you add another habit to that instead of starting from scratch? You're going to be way more successful as you enter this new year and you think about that habit stacking. Now, throughout the rest of this month, we're having more interviews with seven-figure practice owners. These are people that are doing just amazing things. And lots of them are like 4 or 5 years in. They're not like 20 years into their private practice. They started just a couple years ago, often in our communities, and they have leveled up to 7 and multi-7-figure practices. If that's you, now is the time to sign up and apply for the 7-Figure Practice Club. This is a group of 12 people that are all 7-figure practices. They're going to meet once a month for 90 minutes. We're going to do 3 25-minute hot seats. And then we're going to have once a month that one of those 12 does a presentation on something they are knocking out of the park. They're just killing it. And you're going to practice presenting. You're going to have all these other 7-figure practice owners give feedback. It's a great opportunity to test out. Maybe this is a whole new wing of business of consulting that you could do on that particular topic. And then twice a year, we're going to meet up in person, and we're going to meet once here in Traverse City, Michigan, and then once we're going to pick a fun place that we can all visit. So if you want to be a part of the 7-Figure Practice Club, please go over to practiceofthepractice.com/club. You can fill out the application there. Throughout December and January, we are looking at the applications and figuring out that best 12-person club to bring together of 7-figure practice owners. Also, we could not do this show without our incredible sponsors. Gusto is our sponsor, and if you are hiring and your books are a mess, you got to use a payroll solution like Gusto. I have used Gusto here with Practice the Practice for years. Make sure all the taxes and all that junk goes out correctly. They are amazing. If you head on over to gusto.com/Joe, that's going to be the best place for you to get some free months. Also, then they know that their podcast sponsorship is working. So gusto.com/Joe, now is the time to make sure that your books are not a mess as you're entering into this new year and as you're doing your hiring. Thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.
Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.